Of alienation is a global crisis that affects all countries. It has crossed the boundaries of culture, ethnicity, religion, and politics. And even more troubling is the fact that there is an absence of statistics indicating the increase in parental alienation and its impact on this country and the rest of the Caribbean. But how could we deal with this problem of parental alienation? First, we have to deconstruct our thinking, and we have to stop demonizing our men. Sometimes, you all might know, a judge or a jury might believe the husband or father is unfit and unable to care for his child or children. We all know the value of a therapist, counselor, a mediator, and a psychologist. But I want to ask you all, how many schools and universities in Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Caribbean have these trained persons? If there's a shortage in this country of therapists and counselors and mediators, we need to import these people. We need to import these people and have them in our schools, have them in our communities. Many of you all know about a community court called the family court. We have all heard about the family court, but not many people are aware that a children's court exists. Right now we have 2 children's courts, one in Faisabad and one in Port of Spain. And I am saying, in a country so wealthy like Trinidad and Tobago, we should have a children's court in every county in this country. And this special court should be focusing on this issue of parental alienation. There is also a need for a special fund, a fund to ensure that researchers could be hired to collect statistics, and also parents experiencing parental alienation would be able to have access to this fund, would be able to hire the best lawyers, would be able to buy books or DVDs or movies, educate themselves and become more aware of parental alienation. It's an epidemic. It's an epidemic that we are going to hear about this afternoon, and hopefully we will find solutions. We will discuss strategies on how to deal with this. I would like to introduce you to the chairman of this evening's proceedings, Mr. Roger Supasad, and he's the president of the Faisabad Police Community Council. So welcome, Mr. Supasad.
Thank you for your kind introduction, Mr. Jerome Philopsy. My name is Roger Supasad, and I am the president of the Faisabad Police Community Council. It is indeed a privilege to be here on the road this evening. My task this evening is that of the Master of Ceremony for this evening's proceeding, and I would like to welcome the panelists this evening, which comprise of myself, professional family counselor, Ms. Sandra a high conflict divorce coach specialized in public parenting and parental alienation from Arizona, United States, Mr. Michael Allen via Zoom. Also, we have an attorney at law, Ms. Sarah Latin. We also have in our present Dr. Susan Sinan Hollis, and the Member of Parliament for Faisabad is expected to be here shortly. So, I would also like to extend a cordial welcome to our guests, members of the audience. Welcome and thank you for being here. Right? What is parental alienation? That is the question. What is parental alienation? While the term may sound new to many of us, the definition for parental alienation is parental alienation is a process and the result of psychological, manipulation of a child into showing unwarranted fear, disrespect or hostility towards a parent and or other family members. It is distinctive from the psychological abuse of family and family violence towards both the child and the rejected family member that occurs almost exclusively in association with family separation or divorce, particularly where legal action is involved. The most common cause is one of the parents wishing to exclude the other parent from the life of their child through family members or friends, as well as professionals involved with the family, such as including psychologists, lawyers, and judges, may contribute to the process. Parental alienation often leads to long-term and even lifelong estrangement of the child from one parent and another family member, and it is significantly adverse childhood experience and form childhood trauma, resulting significantly increased lifetime risk of both mental and physical illness. And that is the definition of parental alienation. Right, so what do we do? Is there anybody that we can turn to for help? Yes, there is. There is an organization known as PASO, P-A-S-O. It means Parental Alienation Solution Organization. And this is an organization that spans all 50 states in the United States with 3,500 members and is involved in 92 countries. PASO first began on February 12, 2016, where they started a local support meeting for parents struggling to be in their children's life. So there's an organization that we can turn to for it. Here in Trinidad, this is the Trinidad chapter of the Parental Alienation Solution Organization. So we'd like to welcome you to our very first meeting of the Trinidad chapter of PASO. Our next speaker is a professional member of the American Counseling Association. She is the director of the Counseling Association of Trinidad and Tobago. She is the owner, manager of Clifton Counseling and Consulting. Her work experience is wide and varied. She's a counselor training supervisor for National Training Board with well over 10 years experience. She also was a teacher in the Ministry of Education, teaching both English language, English literature, business studies for well over 7 years. She is also a lecturer at the Caribbean Executive College and SAM Caribbean Limited. She has over 25 years experience in teaching, lecturing, counseling and training and development. She was widely featured in the Trinidad Express Woman Voice section and also the Woman Voice section of the Trinidad Guardian. She did counseling topics on radio and wrote on ITV. Her qualification is she has a BA in Human Resource Management, an MBA, Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Innovation, a Diploma in Child Adolescent Counseling. I would like to welcome to the podium Ms. Sandra Subu Jagana. Let us give her a round of applause.
Thank you for that warm welcome. Good afternoon, panel, distinguished guests. This afternoon, I'm going to take off that psychological cap and try to bring it down to the basic level, the level at which you and I and the general public could understand what is parental alienation. because the topic itself is something that is very, very new in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, you go down the road and children has a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and so forth, and we really do not know where it stems from. Parental alienation, it's a process. And what do we mean by a process? It happens. It happens at the very beginning of a child's life. In a child's life, it's called conditioning. Every single one of us are conditioned in a particular way. And conditioning takes place in our environment, be it our social environment, our economic environment, our cultural environment. So that is what we mean by the process. So I want you all to understand that what is this word, process, right? The process now leads to psychological manipulation. So this is where in a divorce case, for instance, be it the mom or be it the dad, right? You have where two adults, they are unable to communicate, to compromise, to commit, and they start having their own issues. They end up in divorce because of their own idiosyncrasies and their adultness, where they cannot deal with situations and circumstances themselves. What happens now in the parental alienation is one parent takes your child away and decides that, listen, because your dad and I cannot communicate, and because I do not like your mom anymore, that I am going to take you away from that other parent. And this is what is meant by psychological manipulation. We get that kid to be on our side, right? To be with us, to believe everything that we see. And the parent that does that, now in Trinidad and Tobago, we do not have systems in place to address these issues, right? We go to the courts, and the courts give a parent, be it male or female, a child based on, do you have a nice house? Can someone take care of you? And that is the factors that they take into consideration in deciding which parent gets your child or not. But they do not decide based on whether this parent is capable, based on the psychological effects that this parenting would have on the child. So when we talk about psychological manipulation, this parent who possibly might be or might have bipolar disorder, might be narcissistic, might be selfish, might be self-absorbed, and our system do not really have anything in place to identify those skills of a parent, and do not have counselors in place, or we have clinical psychologists, right? But then we have something which is called cognitive development. And we have all different types of issues within the framework of a human being, their mind, and how they work. And we cannot continue to give the courts, that is, a child to a parent based on only, do you have an income? It is not enough. You've got to look at the social, the cultural, the economics, and also the personality type of that parent. Because a lot of adults are working around with a lot of as guardians, we saw when they said over 350,000 Trinidadians have mental disorders, right? Maybe it's even more. So then think about it. Parental alienation. You have where one parent is being battered, right? Being the target by another parent who may not even be fit in the first place to have that child. So what are the signs? You as a parent now, on the other side, the receiving parent, the parent that has been left, hurt, in pain, in anger, in shame, right? How can you identify whether your child is practicing parental alienation, which has been triggered and initiated by the other parent, be it male or female? So I'm going to just briefly discuss some signs. So you will find that the child will not be allowed to go to the dad's home, and the child will be told in confidence when the child is in the company of the mom all sorts of negative things about be it the father's mother, that they're not nice, that they're wicked, that they're not of a good stature, that they're not psychologically fit. And what do we have in place to assess whether that's true or not? So the child now comes to the dad home, and everything the dad asks the child complains. So that's the first thing. When the child comes home to visit you, the child complains for every single thing, because that has already been initiated in the child, that your father is not good, he's wicked, his family is not good, his friends is not good, nobody is good. So the child already has a mental picture in their mind about the dad, which is stay away, stop, no negativity. Another thing is that children practice what we call borrowed scenario. So you find 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds appearing to act like adults. Borrowed scenario, because that is what the parent who wants to alienate the other parent is teaching the child. Be like me, be like me. So if this parent is a gossiper, that child is going to gossip. If the parent says that the dad is ugly, the child is going to come to the dad and say, Daddy, you're ugly. Oh, I am ugly because of you. So they're mimicking, and it's called borrowed scenario. Another major sign is when your child comes and your child just is not interested in you anymore. Animosity, hate, disgust. As soon as they reach, I want to go back by mommy. I don't like being by you. Or my grandma not nice. She's a wicked person. She's not a nice person. I don't want to be in this environment. So those are the signs that the child now is being told to alienate the other parent. But in all of this, right, what happens to that child? The development stages of any child is from birth to 7. And we have in Trinidad and Tobago and the world at large that there's no age limit to parental alienation. Right? So what happens there is that the child is left with low self-esteem, low self-confidence. The child is a victim of bullying in school, and the child is just not molded as a normal kid should be. And this is very dangerous and it's very devious for the parents that is alienating the adult to involve the child. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
We are in need of more family courts. We are in need of also more trained judges the area of family law. And as a result of that, we have very long court dates being given. The problem with that is, due to the length of the delay, the damage done to the child is exacerbated. And the experience when you have to actually counsel that child, send them to counseling, takes a longer period to rehabilitate children who experience parental alienation. Additionally, the offending parent tends to be the one who walks out of court successful when there is a lot of delay. The delay works in their favor. And with the benefit of delay, they have time to continue to unduly influence the child, or even to hike their influence unduly against the other parent. Another setback we face in Trinidad Tobago is that we have no set legislation and regulations for practicing psychologists and mental health therapists. There are regulations for psychiatrists, but not psychologists. Therefore, I've had experience, for example, in legal matters where persons who are appointed by the court as an expert and as a psychologist to provide an evaluation, those persons, after they go through the process and provide the report, they are found after to not have the experience of training children, and the reports are sometimes struck out. In such situations, when you have a second or even a third mental health professional appointed by the court, months and years elapse. And again, as I would have outlined earlier, delay damages the child further. What I can tell you though, from my personal observations in practicing family law is this. In recent times, I've had more men coming into my office complaining that their child or children is being alienated from them. I get at least one visit weekly from a different parent. One of my cases have been in court for 2 years, and thankfully the offending parent, after such a lengthy period, realized that the cost of fighting this is not worth it. And then eventually she started to encourage a relationship between the child and her father. The end result of that is the child turned out to be much happier. Her grades started to improve. In school, she was less stressed. Other family members involved were less stressed. And generally, her mental and overall well-being improved by having a relationship with both parents, and with both parents finding a way to cooperate and to make decisions that were in the best interest of that particular child. Further, whilst I've had both mothers and fathers as offending parents in these situations before me, I've realized with time that children in such situations eventually begin to act out in different ways. In some cases, I've had parents return to court and they've requested a variation of court orders because they couldn't manage the child. So they would then ask the other parent, who would have probably been a victim as well, can you take over, come up, can you manage the child? No, I can't manage him or her. So it's actually something that is not just detrimental to the child, it's detrimental to the overall well-being of the child in the long term, and it goes into adulthood. But in other cases, where delay was inordinate, years passed, sometimes the relationship between a father or mother and a child was irretrievable. And there was nothing the court could have done in these situations, especially as they get older. The court is also hesitant to enforce orders with respect to access. However, given all of that said, there is hope to reduce, if not eliminate, this problem in Trinidad and Tobago in particular. We have started, for example, to address the problem today with a public awareness campaign. This needs to continue through the formation of an organization with the specific aim of promoting awareness locally. Additionally, it is imperative for judges, masters, and magistrates to receive training on parental alienation and general common personality disorders which people suffer from, such as type A, type B. And I say this because there there are parents with personality disorder to work the legal system to their advantage. Also, if a judge in particular or magistrate uses his or her intuition in situations where a party before him was suffering from a personality disorder, being aware, for example, of the dangers and risks which are associated with a personality disorder and the effect that it will have overall on the family, they would be able to treat, for example, a matter in a way that is priority. They would be able to make orders to involve the necessary experts, and they could even save the child and family from further trauma in the long term. There are situations where attorneys have to beg judges to appoint an expert. Applications has to be formally made. However, a judge has it under the rules, under our rules, within their discretion, they so desire to ignore them. Therefore, training of the judges are necessary in this area. There also needs to be fundamental reform in our family law system in promoting shared parenting as a foundation in family law. Some judges are already adopting this approach, and some child psychologists are also recommending it in the family court system. However, they are in the minority. The majority of judges will make the order that a father, for example, will have access, or a parent who has access will have access on alternate weekends and half of school vacations and half of birthdays and so forth. Shared parenting as a foundation of family law is one of the main things that can, prevent parental alienation if it's put into place and it's enforced. Specifically, a legal presumption of shared parenting is rebuttable in cases of substantiated child abuse and domestic violence. It is needed to prevent parental alienation from occurring in the first place. So if it's there, we would not have this problem occurring with the magnitude that it is. Another thing that can be done is training workshops by the psychologists and psychiatrists associations in Trinidad Tobago. It would be really helpful if they could come together as a body and formulate a best practice method to diagnose and treat children who experience parental alienation and abuse in whatever form. Because when the reality is, in our legal system, when we get reports, you will have different findings, and sometimes from the same association, if there's a psychological association, 3 psychologists are involved, you will get 3 different reports, maybe 3 different recommendations with respect to the same child. There's also a need for professional recognition of parental alienation, since in the legal system it's easier to persuade a judge once this is something that is recognized and advice is given to judges respective parental alienation and reports. So mental health professionals would need to recognize this as a serious form of child abuse when making their recommendations and their evaluation reports. And the corresponding intervention of the child protection authorities also need to recognize parental alienation. This may involve child removal from the abusive parent, or in most cases, family support services aimed at educating the parents about the effects and unacceptability of parental alienation. There also needs to be a provision of effective treatment programs and services by trained mental health professionals, and in particular in the public sector. Since most parents, they can't afford to hire a psychologist and pay per session, especially single parents who are in this situation. And such treatment programs should have targeted services to unify a family and to also prevent the reoccurrence. The provision of effective treatment services by trained service providers is vital to restoring the relationship between children and targeted parents. Therefore, it should be also part of court orders. But again, we would not be able to obtain the orders if it's not recommended at times by the psychologist or the mental health professional appointed. As lawyers, we also have a duty to provide legal arguments with the developing law in other Commonwealth countries to the court and insist that judges treat these matters urgently, even when it is at the cost of annoying the court. For those parents whose lawyers are not advocating for them aggressively, you also exercise your right to obtain other legal options or opinions. Or you can change your attorney, because I've had parents who come to me after 5 years. They say, well, my attorney kept asking for my access and kept trying to enforce it, but nothing was done. So in such a case, after 5 years, when you're trying to change your attorney, you delay again. With that gross delay, damage sometimes is irretrievable. So for the purposes of court, I'm just going to give you some quick tips in terms of parents who experience parental alienation or some they have an acrimonious relationship with the other parent. What you can do first of all is on a diary of events where you record the problems that you have to access. Another thing you can do is make use of the police station and make reports for the purposes of obtaining your receipts, because this would be a record of non-compliance of court orders. Additionally, you can communicate via electronic mail and text messages so that you can have a paper trail of evidence when you have a parent not complying with orders or you have a difficult parent. You can advocate in court for daily telephone calls with your child if this is not already in place and if your matter is before the court system. If you have little access, for example, you can gradually ask for more access weekly. You can ask for it to be varied so that twice a week after school you can take your child out for pizza or to do something. And with time you can continue to add access to your child so you get more and more time in a situation where you have limited time with your access orders. If you've been denied access for some time, you can also obtain character statements and affidavits from persons who can attest to the behavior of the parent to further convince the court that you should be able to get access to your child as soon as possible. And you can also demand access at court to be supervised by social services until you have unsupervised access in cases where allegations are raised about you being an unfit parent until an expert is involved. If you can't afford a therapist, definitely I would recommend that you use the services of one to bond effectively with your child and to cope with your offending parents. Since reports from therapists are considered in court in terms of changing access arrangements if the need arises. The above were just some ideas on the top of my head. And for parents who suffered from parental alienation, perhaps what we can do is have a local support group between all of the parents coming together. Most of my clients who seek advice, I would say in this area, they tend to think that their case is unique, and they don't realize that this is something that's quite common locally. In conclusion, I wish to encourage those of you who have faced or who have had experience of parental alienation. Whilst it is unfortunate, I would encourage you to continue to face a headstrong fight to have a relationship with your child or children. And hopefully things will get better over time. For those of you who experienced it again, I hope that you are now better equipped to assist others if you are approached to do so. In particular, living under guidelines that I would say key, don't let delay happen in your matters. You need to keep working on it. Ending, I wish to thank you for being such an attentive audience.
For that wealth of recommendation, you know how much the these verses. So she deserves another round of applause. She provided you all with a wealth of recommendation, but also she highlighted the deficiency in the court system. She also highlighted where court-appointed officers have no experience in terms of dealing with children, and the benefit of both parents being involved with the child's life. Makes that child more healthier, happier, more applied student at school. So another time is Siren Lakhan for those recommendations. Our next speaker have worked in the field of behavioral health for over 17 years. He has helped other parents walk through their journey of a unique form of domestic violence known as pathogenic parenting, more commonly known as parental alienation. Pathogenic parenting is unique because it goes largely unnoticed and deeply affects not only the targeted parent, but also deeply affect the child. He has continued to advocate for and train as a high conflict coach. Pathogenic parenting is unique because it has the same as molesting a child's mind instead of their body. Joining us from Arizona in the United States via Zoom, Mr. Michael Allen. Mr. Michael Allen.
Complex problem that needs a lot of people working together to be able to solve it. We need everyone around us aware of this problem and how we can solve it together. This problem first starts with mental health. I don't know what mental health is like out there in Trinidad, but here it's still pretty backwards. So we're still having a bit of a problem getting this assessed, diagnosed, and treated properly. So what we need to do also is to educate mental health so that they can give the lawyers the tools they need to do what they need to do in court to assess and diagnose this problem. I have successfully recovered my son from this dynamic, and what I've done at PASO is I've tried to help empower parents how to come together as a group to be able to fight back effectively. Most people are kind of stuck in their own trauma, stuck in their own cases, and not seeing much beyond their own scope. This is a much bigger problem that is harming children all over the world. In America, it affects about 56 million families, and that's probably just scratching the surface because as many divorces go on, think of how many children get caught in the middle, not even realizing. Some people don't even realize what's happening to them. So it's always been my mission to help wake people up, help people understand what kind of child abuse this really is and how many damaged adults it's raising. We are having just me and myself in the mental health community. I see hundreds of people with attachment problems. And, as children, we're taught to bond with parents. We need to attach to parents. And when that bond is interrupted, it's going to cause mental health problems later down the road. And I want to stop that. And I Like I said in the introduction, you know, we all know it's wrong to molest a child. Not many people think that this is molesting a child's mind. This is emotional child abuse. It's in the DSM, it's diagnosable, it's treatable, it just has to be assessed and identified properly. I trained as a coach with Dorsey Kruger of the High Conflict of the Conscious Co-Parenting Institute. I plan to make this my life's work to try and help erase this problem for every parent out there. We have to stop this. There's just too many people dying over this. This is a massive trauma that needs to stop. You know, if you think about how many times you see in the news about a father or mother going through suicide, you know, just think how many times that actually points back to a high conflict divorce. And you know, it's really bad. We have to stop this, and it's just going to take every person opening their eyes, no longer, you know, seeing something and looking the other way, or not even realizing what's happening. It's just going to take a huge, massive effort, and I am always happy to help people start support groups in the area. That's what PASO's mission was to help empower parents to start local support groups to, you know, not only help each other, but wake up their community. So that's basically in a nutshell what this problem is for me. You know, today I can successfully co-parent with the mother of my son who tried to completely erase me from his life. We can get along, we communicate now, and that started by me shifting me. That started shifting my attitude, the way I react to situations. It started with me owning up to my responsibilities and then making sure that I just move forward. And that's what a coach does. So a coach helps people move forward. It's where it differs from mental health. Therapists help heal the past. Coaches help people move forward. So I really recommend anyone that's going through this dynamic to look at getting a coach, look at starting a support group, look around your area, the area you want. We as a community all over the world need to identify this, assess it, and stop it. So I just want to thank you guys for having me, and pass it back over to Sanjeev. Any questions you have, feel free to ask.
Could that mic move around to the audience? Take it out.
Yeah, hello? Are you hearing me, my brother? Hello?
Mike, we hear you?
Yes.
Are you hearing me out there? Are you hearing me?
I can't hear the question.
Yeah. One of the problems that we have to look at first to begin with, there are plenty. You have a family court system here in Trinidad and Tobago that's biased against men to begin with in the first place. Talk to all of the hurting, especially the single fathers, and serious advocates who've got compassion to bring justice and healing in conflict resolution with couples, and you'll get a completely different story. We also have to look at the biases of our magistrates, especially female magistrates. God forbid if you're coming up against a magistrate that has issues with her father, her ex-husband, and former lover. God have mercy on that man that she'll be dealing with. Also, we have to look at the issue in psychology. The American Psychological Association, for those who don't know, They've got some ideological feminist bias where people in psychology, social workers, social psychologists, and counselors start with a bias that the man is the perpetrator and the women and children are victims. We are extremely backward in this society here in Trinidad and Tobago. I would like to assume that we have some, seems like one came up today, we have some young lawyers, male and female, that are becoming sensitive that something is very wrong. We have to address issues of our family systems. All this legislation concerning domestic violence, they're spinning top in mud because everybody comes from a family system that has some level of dysfunction and toxicity. We also have to look at healing the inner child wound within men and women, because unfortunately to begin with, when we courting, we don't see all of these red flags that leads to all of this alienation, where the children are the ones that suffer. So we also have to have people with compassion, properly trained, men and women. We need to encourage more men to get into the caring professions, because there are hosts of social, psychological, and cultural reasons why men don't enter into the caring professions. And we also need to encourage men who want to get into the caring professions, especially men who want to connect with children and not have this bias that they are potential pedophiles. I don't want to go in, my brother, with my diatribe, but there's so much I can go on and on. I hope I'm giving everybody here enough food for thought, because the work has just begun. You're now talking to Brian Bradshaw. I am now the appointed PRO of the International Men's Day, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm also an advocate for transformative healing. I was in Omega Institute for Holistic Studies upstate New York, traveled to California. I've been involved in many personal growth workshops from a variety of traditions and wisdom traditions. And many people here in Trinidad, they know me from being a well-known presenter on a show called Moving On. Thank you so much, my brother. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening.
Hi, Michael. Do you want to reply? Or wait till you move the question and answer segment? Then hold on till you move the question and answer segment. Hold on. Just do it over. Nice for the mic. I would like to thank Mr. Alden for that his words of encouragement and advice that he has given to us, and Mr. Bradshaw, those are very genuine concerns that a lot of people would not speak about, but we appreciate your bringing it highlighting your issues. Our next speaker is a retired BA graduate from a secondary school teacher of English language and English literature. She has worked in the education system in Trinidad and Tobago for 40 years. She holds a second BA in psychology and counseling and an MA and PhD in psychology and counseling. She is also an ambassador for world peace under the auspices of the Universal Peace Federation and a council member for Women's Federation for World Peace. Corporately, these organizations function as an NGO in consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations. She is an author of 2 published books and presented papers in South Korea and Costa Rica on resolving youth conflict and violence in the 21st century, and how can we cultivate a new generation of youth. I welcome to the podium Ms. Susan Sinanan-Vallis.
Good evening to all of you. First of all, I am not seeing Dr. Jerome Tillotson in the audience. Where is he? I'm just taking a minute. Yes, I just want to say something for you to hear. So we have heard from parental alienation. We have heard about the courts and what parents can do. I know Brian Bradshaw as a vociferous in the alienation and parenting. You know, who are the heads of our families? Why do marriages break down? Consequences of family breakdown and family functioning, healthy lifestyles. So from that perspective, I am going to speak to you all today as a school teacher, being in the system, you know, beleaguered with problems with children. The Ministry of Education. The root causes of these children who grow up into men, young men who become fathers, and single fathers then, abusive husbands, you know, and so on. So from that perspective, I am going to speak of being in the system and being in the core of the hearts of these children who are grieved and hurting and molested, you know, with no self-esteem and no self-worth. So my topic will be on the consequences, some of the consequences of family breakdown. Now, Mr. Tillotson, his desire as a young man, as an exemplary leader in this nation for youth development, he has said on his video, I looked at that video this morning that you sent me, and what is your desire, your vision, your mission, your dream, the role of the boy child in this community? Do you all have parents here who have sons? What is the role of your boy child in this TNT, in this community of Trinidad and Tobago? Who are the positive role models they have in their schools, in churches, in their homes? Which parent is the role model? Neglect of childhood years. So many children pass through from primary school. I don't know my father, I've never seen him. My mother, I've never seen her. I was abandoned by my grandmother. You know, what about secondary school? Children tell you, my grandmother looking after me. I don't know. They grow up into that psychological syndrome, I would call it, of grief, of seeing other children being hugged and picked up and so on. And there is no one to love them as their own biological mother or father. Who is responsible for that? Tell me, who have sown the seeds for these children to be born? Did they ask to be born? Parents have a good time and then the fathers abandon the children. Oh, Lord help me today. What about juvenile gangs? He was saying these young boys who who join the juvenile gangs in neighborhood communities. And you know why they join the gangs? There is no love in the home, so they're looking for leadership in gang leaders who would give them the money and so on. And then we have problems in the homes, from the transition of childhood into puberty, into their adolescent life, their teenage lives, where the hormones raging, and how are parents able to take care and to speak. We have talking cures in psychology. You are not your brain, but you are your mind. Where is your mind leading? We have videos. Every single ad, almost I can say, I'm not exaggerating, has subliminal overtones, sexual overtones in music, dance, everything you could look at. So I am dealing here from that transition. I think that is what Dr. Jerome wants to do in this country, to create a wave that would sweep this land, and we will have good heads of homes, good families, good healthy family functioning in a one-partner relationship. Is that impossible? Or are we going to promote same-sex marriages here? Sorry, I'm too passionate about this thing. Because I was only telling him, was it this morning, Jerome, I was saying, you know, his dad, if there's one man in this nation, and I want him to listen to this, I hope he will listen later. If there is one man in this nation with good, strong, I'm using this cliche now, testicular fortitude, is his dad, who could stand up and they could record him and report him in the papers, all the papers, that there should be no sexual activity during your school life, that your raging hormones must be channeled into dance, music, all your gifts and talents that God has blessed you with. And he is a man who stood up like one man in the world, President Yoweri Museveni, who said no to former President Obama. I will not sign that decree of same-sex marriage. And when he did that, the next morning, every single funding from the UK to the US, it was removed, blocked for his HIV/AIDS program and other diseases and so on. And you know what happened? He said, I will feed my people with green fig if they have to eat it for the week or the month. Plantations of fig. What in this little land, and I am speaking about a state, Uganda, he was president of Uganda, which, you know what? 42,000, not thousand, sorry, million people. And almost 32,000 people had died, million people, sorry, had died from the HIV/AIDS. And when he took over, it was like from Cedras to Toko. Everybody had died, schools closed, universities, only the young children and old people had lived. And he said, I will go back to traditional days, abstinence, be faithful to one partner. And for the children, President Bush took it and he said this program that was successful, the world looked at him for success for men and for families, and how to set boundaries, how to say no, peer pressure, and how children can set new goals and have new dreams, whether they are having sex in the primary school. That is what we are looking at, Youths for Nation Building. So, right now today, this same president has been there 30 years, with 37 states in Africa that did not sign that decree. And he is my mentor because I work closely with him and his wife, Janet Museveni, Lady Janet Museveni, who went to every single school there to promote and to save the nation's youths. So today I am saying to you all, what are the consequences of family breakdown? And very quickly I will give you, within my time frame, I will give you some consequences that I have encountered. For example, we talk about mental disorders here, and the family court, you're going and all this, you know, going and coming and all the conflict, and it continues to progress instead of, you know, the problems being addressed, sorry. So we look at the marriage, consequences of the marriage being broken down. You know, a nice, look at a young man here, handsome, falls in love with an African girl, and they're going very good. They doglarize, they want to doglarize the nation. Very good. And then after 5-6 years, conflict, because the children in school, she's been, you know, why her hair like that, seeing the father, seeing the mother, conflict start because of the different races, break down. You know why? You have some religious also, besides being in a different race in the marriage that breaks down, you have religious beliefs. I have witnessed it. You're in love with the Hindu girl or the Muslim boy, and then suddenly after 10 years, they have problems. Family conflict, religious conflict. Another one is like this marriage conflict. I'm giving you a little one from my classroom. I had 2 children who were from that family, they were Douglas, and the father had removed themselves because they were their father had left them, abandoned them. And why he abandoned them after 15 years was because he wanted the Indian food. And I find that was so silly. And these 2 beautiful girls were traumatized. They couldn't see their father. And he had moved on and moved out of the country. So that was alienation within this family circle. So we also have alcoholism and drugs, infidelity and homosexuality. Now the alcoholism and drugs, I want to give you one example from school. We had a boy, I don't know, the school had a student who was giving all the teachers hell. And one day I am up on the 3-story block, and the security was running him down. And I was on the spot when he held on to another boy, and he was just taking him to throw him over the banister, just like that. You could imagine that? What was this child going through? A Form 4 student going through to take up another boy and throw him over. That rage in him. And I held on to him and I brought him in my classroom. And you know, I said, why did you do something like that? And this boy couldn't answer me. He wept and he wept. And he said, Miss, you don't know. It's like since I born, I am seeing this violence taking place with my mom and dad. And the violence went on to him getting a guava wood to kill his father. He kept greasing the guava wood, and he was really exercising to get muscles and to grow up. And when he was in Form 4, he saw again every morning the father used to abuse the mother, and when his mother fell on the ground, he went for the guava wood because he felt he was strong again. And you know what? When he took it up to strike the father, the mother got up from the ground and she held him and she says, son, this is your father. You will end up as a murderer and in jail. And that alienation was because that son and father my father never gave me a hug since I was born. My father did not want any children. You know what that child went through for all those years? Just think about it. That is only one case scenario, but there were many others. The other infidelity, this one was infidelity. I want you all as parents to know where these cases coming from, you know, to the courts. You see, this is Naparima Boys College, and you see your father taking up another boy in your big van, and you are waiting down the hill there to be picked up. From Form 1, trauma, because the father had a lot of other children, out of wedlock, and he is now in the marriage with another set of children. And this boy is one son in the marriage. And he said he wanted to kill his father, this boy. The rage in these children, the trauma, the grief. These children need love. Who is going to give them it? And I have seen children, the worst case scenarios. I just have to put my hand on them, right? I just have to touch these children, hold their hand. You're so handsome. You know, tell them something, loving that they never had. And these children will start performing. So I believe that there is some incompleteness of true love in the marriages and things. That's why it fall apart. But what Dr. Jerome is saying is that we have to cultivate a new generation of children, a new generation of young men who could stand up as heads of families and heads of homes and so on. But there also, I want to tell you, you know, we are coming down hard on some of the fathers and so on. But I also want to tell you of a case where we have had a very good father. This father went home to his house, and I am telling you as it is, whether it comes over the air, you know, I'm telling you as it is. He went home, his son was 4 years old, and when he went home, there was another man in the house. And what did he do? The child was over 4 years, he applied for full custody and he got it. And that father, we are coming down hard on parents, on fathers especially, and alienation. That father got custody of his son, and every single week he came to see me. What I am telling you is what I have witnessed. He came to see me, he checked the boy reports and until he reached Form 6, and then he got a job. So he was very, very stable in that relationship. The mother went her way. And I am not getting into this, but the computer and the big TV screen, families are falling apart because parents are allowing their children to look at all these sex movies and all the other things that go with this, pornography and so on. Parents are not monitoring the children. That is why we have so many school dropouts and teenage pregnancies and so on, because children are allowed to, you know, have the computer in their room, talk when you want, pull up anything on YouTube or whatever site you want to go on. And the thing about it is, I will give you just two more examples of true case scenarios. Look at this about why people like Dr. Tilak Singh, and I feel myself also, and I speak for all the others too, could make a difference. One could make a difference. Isn't that Mr. Bradshaw? One could make a difference. And that difference is, there were 4 sons to this couple. Down in, I won't say the village, we have a guy from the south here, deep south, and in a village down in the southwestern peninsula. 4 sons, no daughters. The father was a cocaine addict. The mother was an alcoholic. And I was not aware of that. And the 4 children came to my college, the Point Fortin College. But one, the elder son, he dropped out in Form 4. I never knew why, and I never knew him. I only heard the name. And the second one dropped out in Form 3, and the third in Form 2. So the last one had to come in Form 1 when he passed. And I believe it was hell for him to get to school, because his brothers say, we already drought, we in big business, you could make plenty money. Drugs and alcohol, and the one was a pusher in school, and he was locked up a few times, and the police had to be called in and so on. And this young boy missed my exam. I asked my principal, after 20 years of teaching Form 4 to Form 6, I want to go down to those babies in the Form 1. And when I went there the first term, the number 4, this number 4, he did not write my exam. And I wanted to know why, so I went in the staff room to ask if these teachers knew if he came to write their exams. And they say, Miss, what you worrying about that family for? One drop out, so the next one, the other one. So it's only a matter of time for him. And I was shocked. Believe me, I have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 sons. And my 2 sons, they are strong pillars who are and will be. One is in making strong heads of families, you know, with high moral values and virtues, and they would grow up into tall, astute men. I have been telling them from young that. So I decided, because I belong to the Southwestern Point Fortin, I decided to go visit the family. But it so happened, God is good, you know, all things work together for good. I picked up a lady who was going to the village. And you know what happened? She gave me the story also about the drugs and so on. So fortunately for me, I got the parents sober. So I said, this boy did not show up for exams. And they said, don't worry, Bettina, don't worry, and so on. But I worried because he was very brilliant. He came first in most of the courses, the coursework. So I said, well, I have 2 sons, you know, and my son is going to presentation Form 1, and he could come and stay with him too in his room and write the exams and come back home, because it was away, a far village. And he came and he did well, and in Form 5, he reached up to Form 5 with 9 grade 1s. And I got him into presentation college, and he was not supposed to get the math skull. There was, I think, the Parent-Teacher Association chairperson or president, I think, who had the same name like him. And when results came out and I went here, you know what? This boy from this dysfunctional family, he got the math skull. But how he got it, I asked the other guy, but you were expecting the math skull? He said, nah, a boy with my same name, you know them, I'm not calling the name, you know them people in high places, how this government does operate, that boy get the math skull. When he told me the name, well, I wept, because I could not believe he did so well. He's finished, he's now in charge of one of Atlantic offices up in Houston and doing excellent. I know my time is limited. I have given you I have hundreds of cases that I can tell you where one can make a difference. I again salute Dr. Jerome Tilak Singh for this, protecting our boys, especially our men, and for the holistic development, you know, in all areas of their lives, and so that we could nurture strong moral values and virtues and unconditional love, so that they will be empowered to make substantial contributions in nation building in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Being such a highly qualified and experienced teacher, you spoke to us from your heart, not as a teacher, but as a mother. I think Ms. Susan Sernan-Gones deserves another round of applause. Our next speaker is a blogger, speaker, and contributing writer for Step Parent magazine, Tribe Global, and Medium. For almost 10 years, she was a stepmother of 3 amazing children. During that time, she and her husband fought an invisible war called parental alienation. After winning full custody of 2 of the 3 kids in 2016, she and her husband believed that their parental alienation nightmare was over. 2 years later, her stepchildren left for their mother's summer vacation visit and never returned. The last time she saw them was in court on June 28, 2018, ready to testify against them for abuse that never occurred. In July 2018, she launched her blog, Parental Alienation Speak. Joining us via Skype from the United States, let's welcome Ms. Cheryl Mofed.
My name is Cheryl Mefford, as you heard, and I helped my husband fight for his 3 children for 10 years in court. We didn't know what was happening to us. For the first 2 to 3 years, we would go pick up the kids from school and wonder if we picked up the right children. They used to be happy, upbeat, innocent, fun kids, and slowly we saw them becoming very introverted, having very low self-esteem. They started being very secretive, very manipulative. They would lie about things that didn't matter. And we just didn't understand what was happening to us. We took them to a couple different therapists. One of the therapists had them do draw therapy. And one day she came out of the room and said, "Have you ever heard the words parental alienation?" And my husband and I looked at each other and said, "No, we've never heard that term before." She said, "Go and buy the book Divorce Poison by Dr. Warshak." And that night we did just that. We went to the bookstore, bought the book, and my husband sat in his chair, and he read the entire book cover to cover. And he got out of the chair and said, "Finally, we have an understanding of what it is that we're fighting." Inside that book was exactly our life. World War II tactics were being used against his children and indoctrinating them into hate against him. Things such as chants and rituals the kids were reenacting in front of us, but we didn't understand what we were seeing at the time. Every time that we got together with them, our time was sabotaged. Fear was constantly used. We live below a dam in a small town in Missouri, and one of the tactics used was that Liam was told when he was just 6 or 7 years old that the dam was going to break when he was with us for his dad's weekend, and that he would die. And so every night before bed, once we understood what exactly had taken place, we had to put in an emergency plan and help him understand how we were going to get out of the house and how we were going to survive should the dam break. Every time my husband tried to call the kids for his designated time, the alienator would turn up the television in the background so loud that you couldn't even hear the kids talking. And I know that you all are very familiar with all of these tactics, probably experienced just the same type of things. So in 2015, his oldest daughter, who was 17 at the time, she sent a text message an hour before she was supposed to come to our home for her visit, saying that she just needed a break. And that was the last time that we heard from her. But we were advised by our guardian ad litem, by the parent's attorney, not to fight for the oldest daughter because the indoctrination was so deep that it would just really disturb the household to even have her back in our home. So we did fight for the other 2, and we did win full custody, but it took us over a year to win that full custody of the other 2 kids. And in 2016, we believed that we had completely and totally beaten the odds. We proved parental alienation, we beat the odds, and we thought our nightmare is over. And what we didn't understand at the time was just taking the kids away from the alienating parents didn't necessarily mean that the nightmare was over. What we saw happen was that the kids became more manipulative, more deceitful. They lied more. They told us more ridiculous stories about things. And basically what happened was at that time they were only seeing their mom twice a year. So last May 2018, they left for their mother's 2-week summer visit. And the day before they were supposed to come home from her visit, we were slapped with another lawsuit, and we were being sued for sole custody by the alienator. And then the DFS, the social service department here in Missouri, called my husband and told him that we were facing 27 counts of child abuse. And so what happened, and that is that the kids, of course, were not allowed back in our home because it was deemed unsafe. And so what wound up happening was we didn't see the kids for about another 3 weeks. That gave the alienating parents even more time to indoctrinate them. By the time we got to court, we faced again all 3 kids ready to testify against us for things that never happened. So we decided at that point, after 10 years of fighting, that we were facing a new judge. We were literally starting all over. The kids at that point were 15, 17, and 19. And we just decided at that point to clear our names and just to walk away, because at that point, what's the point in having kids in our home that hate us? And unfortunately, that's what we decided to do. And I know that a lot of parents can't even fathom doing such a thing, but after 10 years and trying everything and having every type of custody known to man, we couldn't do it anymore because we were just at our end. And so anyway, since that time, we created what's called Parental Alienation Speaks, and it was just a blog really that was started to help others, outsiders, understand what parental alienation is and what it looks like in real life. And really it started because I was at work one day trying to explain to one of my coworkers about parental alienation, and I literally saw her snicker as I was trying to explain to her what had happened. And it just so frustrated me that I went right home and wrote my first blog post, and that was published in July 2018. And since that time, the blog has gone worldwide, and that's how Sanjeev and I have met. I also created this brochure for parental alienation. One of the things that was frustrating when we first heard that diagnosis was that we were just told to go read a book. Well, so many people don't have time to sit down and write a book. So we decided to create these brochures to just help parents and professional people kind of get a snapshot about what it is and what it looks like. And that's also gone worldwide, which has been really amazing. Since that time, we have had absolutely no contact with the 3 kids. We have run into the youngest child a couple of times. He's said to us that he can't have any contact with them because his mom doesn't approve of it. And so that's where we are today, unfortunately, is they live 5 miles from our house, and we do have, Mary is a senior this year. She's graduating May 10th from high school. Liam is a junior, and he'll be graduating next year. So my heart goes out to all of the alienated parents out there who's dealing with this nightmare. Parental Alienation Speaks is committed to spreading awareness to the world, and we are educating in Missouri. How we're doing that is we are going to any conference that we can get in the door to. We created a nonprofit organization through Parental Alienation Speaks because we found that opened more doors for us to be able to have that opportunity to go into these conferences. So far this year, we've been to the Missouri Sheriff Association Conference, and we learned there that 63% of law enforcement have no idea what parental alienation is, what it looks like. But just about that percentage of it said that they did know somebody that had experienced it. They just didn't know what the term was. The same thing with a social workers conference that we attended. 69% of social workers that attended said they had no idea what parental alienation was, but almost that exact same percentage said that either they'd experienced it or knew someone who had. We've also just been to a child abuse conference and around the same percentage. So we are committed to educating from the ground up. My husband now works for the sheriff's department here in our town, and he works side by side with the same people that used to come to our door and do the well child checks and serve us with papers to show up to court. And he's able to go on calls with other law enforcement officials and say, this right here is parental alienation. And this is why following up with that well child check and calling the parent that is trying to get us to do this, and letting that parent know that they are facing a charge of false allegations. If they go through with this, it's very important. He's been able to hopefully stop alienators in their tracks just by doing that one simple thing. And we believe that if the statutes that were already in place for us here in Missouri, if they'd even been used maybe one time against our alienator, that he might have a relationship with his children to this day. The same thing goes for contempt charges. We have stacks of contempt charges against the alienator, but none of those contempt charges were ever enforced by our judge. And again, we believe that just one of those charges had been enforced, that it might have prevented her from continuing that cycle, and he today might have a relationship with his children. So just thank you for the opportunity to be here, and Sanjeev, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
With us, your struggles give us hope and strengthen our determination to succeed. Thank you for being part of our program. Right, our next speaker is a former institution, Naparima Boys. He's a medical practitioner by profession, a former chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authority. He is a current member of Parliament for Faizabad. Let us invite and welcome the Honorable Dr. Lakram Bodo.
Thank you very much, Roger. Roger is also the president of the Faizabad Police Community Council, where he plays a very important role in liaison with the community in Faizabad and the police service. A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to recognize Dr. Jerome Tilak Singh, here as lecturer at the University of the West Indies, was also as president of International Men's, together with Mr. Brian Bradshaw, who I'm meeting for the first time. Also to recognize Mr. Sanjeev Prasad and to thank him for the invitation. I wasn't quite sure why he invited me, but having sat here this afternoon listening, you know, I think that it was important for me to be here. I also want to recognize, of course, the fellow members at the head table, and to thank them for their excellent presentations. I've learned quite a bit here this evening, and I feel honored to be in such distinguished company. We've had quite a good mix, Sanjeev. I think you've done an excellent job, and of course to recognize our contributors from overseas for taking the time off with their contributions as well this evening. I feel compelled to support the local chapter of the Parental Alienation Support Group. I want to commend you. I know it's early days. I know there's a lot of work to be done. You know, but before I go on, I just want to ask a question of the audience, ladies and gentlemen. And if you could indulge me and answer this by a raise of hands, and this also applies, I wouldn't exclude the members of the head table. And it's a simple thing. You know, you're at a river bank. You're on the bank of a river, and you have raging waters going down the river. And you have one stick. You don't have a rope. You have one stick. And your parent, your mother falls in the river, and your child falls in the river. And you can only save one. You can only save one. The circumstances are such that you can only save one. Which one are you going to save? Your mother or your child? Feel free. Who's going to save the mother? Who's going to save the child? So the answer is overwhelmingly the child. And the reason I make that point is because it is to show that there is a very strong bond between the parent and the child. Now, instinctively, you know you will save your child, but there is also a genetic reason for that. And the reason for that is that if you save your mother and you allow your child to drown, it means that you are going to affect the continuity of the human race. is a very powerful lesson that we all need to understand. But I'm only making this point to show that that bond is so strong between a parent and a child that it is amazing, and I often wonder how that bond could be broken, especially when a relationship is broken. So it's something that we have to think about. The other point I want to make, and I wear a couple hats this evening. I wear one as a member of parliament. We'll talk about that. But I also wear a hat as a gynecologist. I've been practicing that for 35 years. And the other thing I notice is that when a pregnant woman comes into my office and I do an ultrasound scan and the baby is quiet and doesn't want to move around, and the moment the mother or the father in the room makes a sound or starts talking, that stimulates movement. It tells us that children are impressionable even from when they are within the womb. So again, that is powerful. And I make that point only to say that we as parents have tremendous ability to influence the behavior of our children, either in a positive way or unfortunately sometimes in a negative way. Because especially at a younger age, up to the age perhaps of about 5, 6, 7, children can be influenced tremendously. I'm sorry I missed the presentation by the psychologist, but I'm sure she would have made that point or would have intended to make that point. So I think it's an important lesson, and therefore, with that information, we have tremendous responsibility to ensure that we provide the right influence for our children, whether it is in the relationship that Dr. Sinan Ganesh would like all of us to have, the perfect relationship, but we know from a practical, realistic point of view, it's not always like that, and of course you'll have broken relationships, but that is not a reason for children to suffer. I also wanted to make the point that you can't drive a car in this country without a license, but yet you can become a parent without a license. And that is an unfortunate thing. And that's something perhaps, I make it in a way, but the point is that we really, as parents, and before we become parents, really we need to take that responsibility. We are entrusted with a tremendous responsibility, and therefore we have to prepare for it. You have to go and learn to drive. You have to pass a test before you could, operate a motor vehicle on the road where you can kill people. But of course you can do a tremendous amount of psychological damage to your children if you are not a good parent. So I think it's a commendable cause. I know it's been a long afternoon for you all. It's Saturday night. You probably have other activities you want to go on to. But before I close, I just wanted to address two other issues that the attorney at the head table, Sarah, raised. And one is the issue of trained and certified psychologists and counseling psychologists, especially in Trinidad and Tobago. It's an issue. We have an association of psychologists, but that's just a body, but it's not a certifying body. And it is something that, that I intend to take up at the level of the parliament and at other levels to see if we can create some sort of certification process. Psychiatrists are certified. You have an optical counselor, you have a dental counselor, and so on. But such an important body of professionals as psychologists are not certified. And as Sarah pointed out, this can sometimes prove to be a problem in terms of accepting evidence in court and so on when it comes to that. And I take that interest because I also have a very personal interest in that. I wear 3 hats tonight, one as a doctor, one as a member of parliament, but I'm also the father of a PhD student in counseling psychology who is studying abroad at the moment. And of course, she's drawn this to my attention in terms of what the standards are abroad, in the US, for example, as compared to what we are. So we have a long way to go. This is something as an MP I can try to assist. And also, Sarah, whatever gaps there are in the legislation with regards to family law, it is something, of course, that, as a member of parliament, I would be very, very willing to support. Recently, I had the privilege of piloting a bill with regards to domestic violence. That's an ongoing issue. I know you spoke about that, Dr. Ganesh. It remains, a very troubling issue. And of course, when we look at the flyer for this evening and we look at the definition of parental alienation, we see here psychological abuse and family violence. Very powerful words indeed, but very true words. So I think it's, you know, it's a real problem. I want to commend all of the men who have taken up the fight. Our MC for the evening mentioned I was also chairman of the Southwest Regional Health Authority. And I remember at my very first public board meeting, the RHAs are supposed to have a public board meeting. And at my very first public board meeting in 2011, in Naparima Bowl, just down the hill from Naparima College, a gentleman, there's a question and answer session, and this gentleman, you know, stands up on the floor and he identifies himself and he says, Chairman, it's all well and good, but why is it not possible for single fathers to be able to remain on the pediatric ward, on the children's ward with their children? So, and of course, that is a system where the authorities had created a bias by only allowing mothers to stay on the ward with their children. And of course, this is a situation where this very able and willing father wanted to stay with his child, but the system didn't allow it because the system itself was short-sighted and didn't recognize that the fathers played just as important a role as the mothers in that situation. Needless to say, I was very grateful for that intervention, and it is now possible, and I trust that it is still the same arrangement, where arrangements have been made for fathers to be able to go and stay on the pediatric ward. Special arrangements are in place because, of course, fathers make a very important contribution. It is not to knock the mothers' contributions as well, very important. So I just want to say that I want to commend the fathers who are, taking this initiative. I want to tell you it's not an easy battle. It's a difficult battle. Trinidad is a place with a lot of old talk and little action. I'm sure many of you recognize that. And therefore, if you have to achieve anything in this country, you have to persist, you have to persist, you have to persist. Sanjeev, I want to commend you. I know that you've been a very strong and powerful advocate for this cause. I can't read the amount of material that you send me, but I give you the assurance it is read by those around me and the salient points that distilled and brought to my attention. So I want to urge you to continue that action and to continue the advocacy for what I believe is a very, very important cause. So with those few words, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased, I'm very happy to be here to support this cause, and whatever action is required at the Parliament level, I give you my assurance that I can act as a conduit at that level for whatever changes might be required in terms of the legislation and the advocacy and, raising awareness and creating awareness. Thank you very much.
I think Dr. Bodo deserves better round of applause for that, Because he highlighted issues not only about mothers, but he noticed the important role of the father in the hospital, etc. Right, and we would also like to thank Dr. Bodo for his support for the parental alienation solution of Trinidad and Tobago. We'll now take about 5 or 6 questions from the audience. The panel will answer your questions. We would like you to state your name. We would like you to be relevant to the issue, and most importantly, be respectful to each other. So we're open for questions, please. Mr. Brashaw.
As you all can sense, I have so much to say, but I'll try my best to be as brief as possible. The lady here, certain things you had me smiling. I was drawn to your compassion, and the lawyer here, I would like to assume intuitively that I'm right when I said, I would like to believe that there are some young lawyers now, male and female, who are realizing there's some serious ideological bias in the court system. I just want you all to know, I was just telling a lady outside, the issue of the parental alienation a lot of all of our family dysfunction and abuse, right? These issues are multi-generational, right? I want you all to know the issues of domestic violence legislation, my beloved lawyer. It was made by women and it has a serious anti-male bias, right? We need people with compassion. We need to readdress and encourage men and young boys who have a lot of love and compassion to be nurturers. I've got news for you. Some of the biggest pedophiles are also women. We've been getting a narrative that the woman is victim and the man is perpetrator, and Hollywood has been pushing that. It's dramatized, right? It's sensationalized, and we need positive narratives, because every week, Women's Magazine, but we don't have the magazines and the stories. Listen well, people, we've got hundreds, we've got thousands of wonderful men, single fathers, doing a fantastic job, right? Raising kids, and the thousands of stepfathers who are raising children that are not biologically theirs, and they're doing a fabulous job. We don't have narratives and magazines and think about these wonderful people. I just had to explain to a particular lady here, her husband works offshore, and I said, he's working hard, he's involved in a hazardous job, so he can give you a particular lifestyle. Women can't hear what men don't say. Men get involved in jobs and careers to earn enough income to support a family and raise a family, only to discover too late it doesn't allow them to bond with family. Many of my high-profile lawyers, their marriages are extremely toxic. You understand? Because they discovered too well that their job and his job, something is, but we will not, we never question these things in terms of our socialization. So I just want you all to know, issues of parental alienation is multi-generational, but we also need safe spaces for men and boys, especially our boys who are going through all sorts of abuse. We need special spaces for them to vent and proper spaces for people to be trained. Not only boys, but also men, because women can't hear what men don't say. I was just explaining to the lady that when men speak, women say, you all have issues. You understand? Because when a man bears his soul and shows his vulnerability, it exposes women to their own vulnerability and their unresolved issues. So women shut down when men speak up. I've reached a point in my development now, the anger is gone. So what's coming out from my mouth now, it's more a passion. It's not an anger. But I don't want to bore you all with my diatribe. I've said enough. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bradshaw. Any further questions to the panel? Any advice you need, any concerns? But if your matter is before the court, please do not raise it. You can raise it in a general statement, but do not call names. But any concerns and any issues or like, the panel will be more than willing to answer your questions. Yes, sir, just take the name and...
Hello, good night. My name is Roel Mutilal, and I would like to ask, when will the Children Authority put something in place, a better investigative system into these complaints of parental alienation? I've been to them before, a couple of things, and they will dance me around like a ping pong ball from the police station back to them, and they'll keep going like that.
Right, you see, well, that is the purpose and function that this group would provide, solutions for those sort of issues that they had no representation before.
Well, and I think it goes the same also with the law system, magistrate, lawyers, social workers, investigative measures, proper investigative measures into these claims and allegations.
Right, and like it was mentioned earlier too, that most professionals in these fields, police, etc., they are not trained to deal with children and children issues.
I've seen that.
Right, judges and magistrates too, You can take it. You like to take it, Mike?
From my observation,
one of the things I would like to say from my years of observation is the fact that our system, right, the political system itself, in terms of the children's authority, we have a system that is ancient and non-transformational. And out here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have young minds, middle-aged minds, and old minds. We have very educated, knowledgeable people that are also unemployed, that could actually help. People who did not go into these jobs just for a buck or quick cash. People who are out there, like my colleague here, Jessica Sergio, who is listening, who is out there to make a difference, who has love in her heart, empathy, compassion, and emotional intelligence. But there is no avenues for people such as her, even myself, to come out there. And the gentleman, Mr. Ratcher, in the back there. There's no avenue for us to use our education, our skill sets, nor our experience. Because currently, I can say this, Jessica and myself, we are fighting up to do so many good things for the children of Trinidad and Tobago, but it's a hard, long fight.
I just want to add to that because recently, you might be aware, a bill came before the Parliament to ask for more accountability from NGOs and NPOs, non-governmental organizations and non-profit organizations. There is obviously a big gap in terms of between what the government and the state is able to do and what NGOs and so on can do. And, you know, I speak now as an opposition MP, and we took, you know, great affront to the fact that these NGOs would have been made to account, you know, in a very stringent way, and it would have destroyed some of the NGOs. So that is something I'm making that point, but only as well to support and to encourage that a lot of the work is being done by the NGOs, and therefore you have to continue to support and to find your own space and place in the society, and then look for the support. You know, there's a whole trend now in terms of governance, where to a large extent throughout the world, the state is being, I don't want to say sidelined, but there are many partners now, you know, partnering with the state to provide services. So there is a very big role, but again, it's important to be able to have voices to advocate. Sometimes one voice, Mr. Bradshaw, may not always carry as it is. I want to commend you, you know, for your contribution. You're obviously very well informed and experienced in these matters. But it's important. For example, your question about what the Children's Authority is doing is a good question. But you can ask those questions to the authority through a letter to the newspaper, and you can even get a question filed in the Parliament if it's a specific question, either through myself or your Member of Parliament. So those are avenues that are available, and the public needs to be aware of that any issue you have, you can go to a Member of Parliament where you reside and say, listen, I have this concern, ask this question for me in the Parliament, where it will gather national attention. And that is the way change will come about. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jessica Sergio, and similarly, an excellent panel. I want to commend the arrangers, the presenters, and everyone who contributed to this afternoon. When I heard about it from my good friend Sandra, I asked others to come aboard, you know, come here this afternoon. I'm a lecturer in counseling, and I asked everyone to come. And persons weren't, first of all, they didn't know what parental alienation is, and secondly, they weren't interested. And you know, that's a sad place to be for a lot of persons. There is so much that we need to do in our society, and there's so much dysfunctionality, you know, there's so much happening. And a lot of times, you know, look at the turnout here. It's really worrying. And I'm sure this would have been advertised. I'm sure we have such a celebrity of panel here, you know, and Dr. Tilak Singh, I was one of your patients one time. And, you know, we have so much persons, you know, that could have come, and yet there aren't. But you know, I want to encourage each and every one of us. I have an organization, it's called Speak, and we have been going out there, Sandra's a member, we have been going out there and bringing awareness to the general public on all sorts of societal ills. I didn't form an NGO at first. I didn't have any PhD, you know, things. I didn't have all the support. I did not have the financial backings. I didn't have a lot of things. But I went out there and I tried to make a difference, and it was well received. I must say, when we did send things out, we were able to get a lot of support. The point is, even in things like parental alienation and so many other things that we want to bring awareness to the general public, it is about all of us. So each one of us here tonight could go out there and say something and spread the word and bring this type of awareness to the general public. Persons aren't aware. Recently I had Juanita Headley, who came, a New York attorney, who I partner with in terms of human trafficking. You know, I remember doing that some time ago, and the person said that do exist in our country. And then earlier this year we saw what happened. So each and every one of us can make a difference. And whilst I want to stay on the topic of parental alienation, I mean, the dysfunctionality of some of our families is contributing significantly to this. I myself, we talk about the parents. Dr. Voda spoke about the parenting, and the others as well. And I have a workshop coming up on parenting because of the need. Dr. Asha Pemberton, who is a teen health specialist, she's the first facilitator. But these are the kind of things that we're looking at in terms of initiative going forward for our parents, because a lot of our parents aren't even aware how to help. They don't even know the term alienation, you know, and this is what, again, is significant. Today, when we all leave from here, I trust that every one of us will bring some awareness to our friends and family on such topics. Thank you.
Thank you for that valuable contribution. Any further questions? Last question or two? Anyone else? Okay, since there are no further questions, but before I move on, Mr. Bradshaw, no, I know you spoke about a non-biological father having unconditional love for a child. No, I know you had mentioned about a non-biological father have unconditional love for a child.
Yes.
To strengthen your argument, who is the greatest example of that?
Yeah, I just want you all to know that the person that connects with the child on a vibrational level and nurtures and empowers the child, whether it's biological or not, that person is the true parent, men as well as women. There are many women, all they do is make lots of babies, but they're not really a mother. There are men who are not biological fathers who connect very well and nurture. That person is the true parent.
Right, and I want to give you an example to strengthen your argument.
Yes, sir.
Right, Easter now over, and Easter now finished. And only from Easter I realized that too. Joseph is the greatest non-biological father.
Yes. Oh, you mean the biblical character?
Yes.
Yes, you're right about that, sir.
Right.
Yes.
So I just wanted to strengthen the argument.
Thank you much, sir. Appreciate it.
Most welcome. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda. We'll ask Mr. Sanjeev Prasad to make a presentation to the panelists. Mr. Sanjeev Prasad.
All the persons who I gave a gift to give to the panel, could you just come up, please? All right. Mr. Shaidul Hussain here, Dr. Lakram Bodo. Some more research material again. Mr. Raja Suprasad, our chairman for the evening. This is Ajay Prasad. Ms. Indira Mathu will present to Ms. Saira Lakan. She's also my lawyer. Ms. Sandra Jagannath. What's his name? Ronald Bola. This is Mr. Ronald Bola. And Ms. Suzanne Ganis. I hope I have it right. This is Mr. Arjun Munilal. He will present this gift to you too. Thank you everyone who presented the gifts to the panelists. I hope you all enjoy reading some more material on parental alienation too.
I'd like to take this opportunity, thank you Mr. Sanjeev, I'd like to take this opportunity to call Mr. Jerome Tilok Singh to make a presentation, please.
Right. Thank you very much. I just want to give a certificate and a medal to Sanjeev for all the good work he has been doing in highlighting parental alienation and addressing some of the issues, right? So he has been doing a lot of good work for a while now, and he now has it formally done in our organization. So I just want to give him this certificate and a medal. This is a medal I made a few this year commemorating the World Day of the Boy Child, and I usually give it to fathers who are separated from their sons or fathers who have a close bond with their son or son. Right, thank you all very much for coming.
Tilok Singh. I would now like to call on Mr. Sanjeev Prasad to move a vote of thanks.
Well, as the chairman said, my name is Sanjeev Prasad. I am president of the local chapter of the organization called Parental Alienation Solution Organization. It is affiliated to an international group, and they have a wealth of knowledge all over the United States in many groups, and they have many support pages. So if you're looking for material or supportive information on all that, they have files, they have, every day they try to help parents who have gone through alienation. In this whole process, there are terminologies that you should know, which is like flying monkeys, targeted parent, alienating parent, also to the type of personality of individuals who display these traits, where sometimes in narcissistic case, the children could become narcissistic as well, right? I want to thank the entire panel. I tried to assemble this team here, a powerful team. Roger, who has been part of the Hyderabad Community Council, who always display bringing the community together, instilling values also to in the direction of making persons a better person for the society and all that. My duty tonight is to move a vote of thanks to all participated in the discussion, finding a solution to parental alienation, recognizing the symptoms, identifying the source of alienation, and providing the solution with the legal framework of Trinidad and Tobago is our mission. This evening, panelists have all made their contribution towards making us aware the dangerous type of child abuse. And I hope that you hear the Child Authority of Trinidad and Tobago will do something into educating the public a little more in terms of what is parental alienation on their Facebook pages, right? And many of the other organizations, Family in Action, and many other NGOs, I think they should take up this fight also too, in order to disseminate this information, because it will help also to bring about a better society. and bring families together all together in all. Without recognizing that it exists makes us as a society unable to provide solution to the victims of this form of parental alienation. It is important for each and every one listening in and attending tonight's discussion to spread the information highlighted tonight to those they come in contact with who are facing similar situations. So I hope everybody here become ambassadors of parental alienation. And when you're on Facebook or anywhere else on your social media, when you see something on parental alienation, please share it. Educate. The only way to beat parental alienation and to eliminate parental alienation is through education and training. We need to train the judges. We need to train also the lawyers. We need to train the judges, lawyers, the social workers. Everybody in the system has to be able to, from the teachers, go back. Right? Once you hear it's identified, then it should go to the next stage with psychologists or the lawyer. They must be able to recognize it because it is a continuous thing for generation and generation to come. Also too, Dr. Lakra Bodo, who is a member of parliament for the constituency of Faizabad, I hope that in the parliament that he will take it up under legislation. I know he's an advocate for women's and child abuse thing in the parliament at the moment. So I hope somewhere in the legislation we could see that here maybe a joint select committee could come together in order to put together something where here judges and lawyers and everybody could be trained in that direction to recognize it. Because many lawyers in this system do not know about parental alienation. And they just pass it on as, that's what the child says. So I hope legislation could go in that direction to train the lawyers, because as Ms. Sarah Lacan said, I don't think they teach that in school. So I was listening very carefully. Ms. Sandra, well, we met recently, but we knew one another a long time. And I was glad to have you on the panel and for all the contribution that you made in the direction in your field and all that. I hope in your field too you will try to get people to be ambassadors to bring a different change in that direction too. Ms. Ganesh, I don't know you, but I thank you also too for being on the panel. You had a different approach from the panel, but you brought out what you hear alienation could be in the society and the home and all that too. So thank you very much, and we appreciate everyone over here. Dr. Jerome Tiloxing, thank you for being part together with me on this drive in order to make everyone aware about parental alienation. I hope this is really a spark, and as we say spark, Ms. Cheryl Medford, I met recently online, and she was the one who was responsible of giving me these flyers via the internet, where I got them printed, and my uncle Satyam Prasad, he printed it and bring it to me. So thank you, Mr. Satyam Prasad, who brought this from New York for me. And she emailed it to me, and I got them printed. Also to Mr. Michael Allen from PASO, who made me the local chapter president. This is 2 research articles that everybody would get here this evening before you leave. Most of you probably have it already. They have a number of articles and files online, so you could take a read. Where this one says parental alienation syndrome is a serious form of psychological abuse. I hope the Child Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Rawl, do take up your challenge in that direction to educate the public. Dr. Craig Childress and Dr. Amy Baker are very, if you Google those names online, you will see several videos in order to educate yourself on parental alienation. Just Google and you will see a number of things. The internet is a great source of educating yourself on this, in this direction. So I hope I did not talk too much in the thank you, right? But I have a lot, and I want to also thank the principal who made it possible for the principal of Naprima Boys College here, Mr. Dowlett, Michael Dowlett, for allowing me to have this session over here, and also, all the supporting people who helped bringing this whole place all together. For me, Mr. Shaidul Hussein, the guy with the Santa Claus beard in the back there, right? He helped me a lot today into organizing things, and Mr. Arjun Munilal also too, who is in the blue shirt there, right? So, and Ajay Prasad, who helped me with the registration, and I thank Sankhya TV for where I will get a copy of this in a very professional way. So I hope I covered everybody. If I forget anyone, I hope I did. I didn't do it deliberately, and I am very pleased that I had this panel. I'm very grateful to everybody in this panel for bringing this to forth. I hope next time we will have a seminar, and we will bring more people to it, where I think it's time that every parent-teacher association of Trinidad and Tobago should understand what is parental alienation from that point, and then we start teaching everybody from the ground up. Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the panelists and our distinguished guests to join us for some light refreshment and to mingle and share your experience today with each other. Thank you all for coming.